What is going on, everybody? I am here and back with a recap for the Seahawks overtime loss to the Vegas Raiders. I don't have the box score up in front of me or anything like that. I don't know all the actual numbers, but I remember most of it from the game. So, excuse me. But this is probably the first, I hate using the word emotional because it's sports. This is the first, tough recap I've done since I've been doing Seahawks recaps. It's only a few weeks now. I started when they won the first Cardinal game. Then they beat the Chargers, Cardinals again, Giants. Even the Bucs loss didn't bother me that much. It was just kind of like the Bucs controlled the game. Seattle got back into it late, and they couldn't pull it out. Today was the first one that really stings. This is the first loss for me, really, this year that really stings. I'll be honest, in the beginning of the year, going through the losses, the Niners game didn't sting. My expectations were still low. The Denver win was super fun, but I still wasn't thinking playoffs. Same after the Atlanta loss. The New Orleans loss stung a little bit, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. We were coming off the high of the Mariners that same weekend. So that loss didn't sting all that much either because we were like, hey, the Mariners are starting a playoff series tomorrow. So I got over it pretty quickly. The fourth loss was last week to the Bucs. Again, they had won four in a row. Was it four in a row? So I just wasn't too. Get this out of the way here. All my stuff. I wasn't. It just didn't bother me that much. I didn't. I thought they were kind of due for a game like that, and I still respect Tom Brady enough that I that game didn't get me. This one did. Gosh, I want to be a voice. My goal on YouTube and for Seahawks fans, I've been watching this, is to be a voice of reason. You're not going to get over emotional, like fire everybody, cut everybody. I'll still maintain that if you told any Seahawks fan before the year that they'd be 6-5 after 11 games and be holding probably the number 4 pick in the draft, as Russell Wilson looks like he's almost declined to a point of no return, we all would have signed up for that. Like, wow, the team in playoff contention, and Denver's the team that's going to give us the high pick. This is amazing. Like, how did this happen? But this one just stings a lot because someone made a point on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but it said something like hope brings the emotion or something like that, and the disappointment. And this team has given me hope, and now I feel the sting of the loss. Obviously I'm talking to people as if they've watched the game. So just in everything, the defense, no ability to stop Josh Jacobs, who had 300 scrimmage yards. That includes passing and running. Actually, look, they did a pretty good job at Devontae Adams. Not shocked with Tariq Woolen. 2 interceptions, both by Quandre Diggs in the first quarter. Ryan Neal almost had another one. The offense puts up 34 points. But I'll get into a little bit on everybody deserves a little bit of the blame today. A lot to go around for this team. Obviously the defense not being able to stop the run now 2 weeks in a row after it looked like the defense had turned a corner during the winning streak. But I'm wondering now if a lot of that was just some poor offenses. Arizona's kind of a mess offensively. And is likely going to be moving on from Cliff Kingsbury here soon. The Giants, have no wide receiver talent whatsoever. And Daniel Jones is very limited. The Chargers were really banged up. Even though Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert all played, they were all super banged up. Then you had the Cardinals again. You had the Cardinals twice, the Giants, and the Chargers. Now you're playing teams that can move the football a little bit. They're not elite offenses, I would say, with Tampa and Vegas. But they've got enough. They've got some elite level talent that has given this team fits over the last couple weeks, and the run defense has just disappeared. I said a couple weeks ago, a lot of people thought the Seahawks not activating Brian Monet against Tampa Bay was a big reason they lost. And I certainly thought Monet should have been active. I'm sorry for that. It's very professional, but I didn't think it was like this. That was the reason they lost. And Monet was active today. And I'm not saying Brian Monet didn't play well. I don't know. He might have been fine. But that's not going to be enough. If Brian Monet is your difference maker, I'm not trying to sound. I think Brian Monet is a really nice role player. But if that's the difference between winning and losing, then you've got other things going on. Um, the offense, the passing game was fine. Geno did have one interception where it looked like Lockett and Metcalf ran crossers, kind of ran into each other and almost ran a pick play on themselves. He had another one that should have been picked in the end zone by Harmon, but was dropped. Seattle ended up getting a field goal out of that. And I'm not going to put it on Geno, but there was an interesting stat that came up, and Seattle's not scored a point within the final 2 minutes of a game this year. Now, that's not all, like that. How do I put this? Like that. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. This game just got me. That's a number that can be like way overblown. Because you look at the games like Denver, they didn't have the ball. Denver missed a field goal. The Niners, they were blown out. The Atlanta game, that stat does matter. They had a chance to win that game late, couldn't do it. The Detroit game, they won, so I'm not going to really get on that. New Orleans, it mattered. I don't know if they had under 2 minutes, but they had the ball late, couldn't do anything with it. The next 4 games they won. Tampa Bay, they didn't get the ball back, but the offense put themselves in a position where they would have needed that drive, and they didn't get it. And then today, it does matter. They had 2 drives, despite everything that happened at the end of regulation and in overtime, to win the football game, and they didn't do it. They couldn't do it. I am never going to sit here and blame refs. It is what it is. The Seattle defense did not play well enough to win this football game, but the Metcalf catch at the end of regulation was probably a 50-50 call. Now, I will say this. While I'm not so much against that being overturned, I don't like that it took 10 minutes to look at that play. I don't understand why they gave that such a look, and the call was a catch. You look at it, if there's not enough evidence, it needs to stand as a catch. I don't know why that got like 8 minutes of a review, whereas other plays don't. Like, it seemed like they were just looking and looking. Now, I don't want to be too critical because they may have gotten that one right. Like I said, it was 50-50, but it looked to me like it was a catch. They called it a catch, and the review takes 9.5 minutes. I don't know. The Josh Jacobs forward progress was such a bad call, and I'm sorry. But by the way, if any Raiders fans watch this, congratulations. A real nice win. A Raiders team that I guess, well, let me finish this. I'll talk about what I think of them. But Jacobs fumbled that ball. He 100% fumbled that. Forward progress is such a cop-out call to just be like, yeah, it was forward progress that was stopped. Sorry. Like, his forward progress was not stopped. That was a fumble. Now, I'll be clear, that wouldn't have ended the game. There would have been about 2.5 minutes to go. Seattle would have needed a first down, probably 2, because the Raiders would have essentially had 4 timeouts of the 2-minute warning. Game would not have been over. So I will say that. I'll be very clear on that. That wouldn't have ended the game. But you've got to think that would have certainly given Seattle a win probability probably in the 80s or 90%. I will say, while the Raiders were 3-7. They've certainly been better than that. They have lost a lot of close games. This is a Raiders team that, if I would have made a pregame video, and I keep saying that, and I never make pregame videos, but I would have talked about that they went into Arrowhead and almost won. I mean, they probably should have won. They had a close loss at Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville's not great, but they beat Baltimore today. They had a really close loss to the Chargers in week 1. Do I think the Raiders are, and the Colts as well, do I think the Raiders are great? No. But they're probably an 8-9 win team that's in a 3-4 win. Not 8-9 right now, but they're probably going to win 6-7. They're probably more of an 8-9 win team. I think overall, they're a slightly average. I think they're a pretty average team. They're not bottom of the barrel. This wasn't losing to Houston or anything like that. This was a kind of a mediocre team, a fringe playoff team that's just happened to lose every coin flip outside of the last 2 weeks, where they've now won back-to-back walk-offs in overtime. But before then, has lost almost every coin flip game they have played. So, and they just happen to get one. That doesn't mean I'm not excusing Seattle's performance or anything like that, but don't let anybody tell you like the Texans came in here and beat Seattle either. The Raiders are not a bad football team, and they got Colton Miller back today as well, which was a big boost for their offensive line. Yeah, I mean, just Seattle's defense, just no pass rush. It's funny because in the first quarter, actually, they did get some decent pressure on Carr. The first throw, Quandre Diggs intercepts the first play of the game. I thought there was some decent pressure up the middle. On the next drive, I think they ended up making a completion to Adams or somebody on the sideline. It was so long ago, I don't remember. There was some decent pressure. Poona Ford got a sack. They had some moments where they got there and got some pass rush onto Derek Carr in the first quarter, and then just stopped. And Nwosu came close a couple times, but that was it. Darrell Taylor, don't even remember. I saw him invisible. Bruce Irvin, I love Bruce, one of my favorite guys, and he's definitely on the end of his career. I'm not trying to Darrell Taylor deserves some criticism. Like, where were you? Bruce Irvin, I'm not going to get on, but I didn't see his name. The interior pass rush, which has just been lacking, was not there. Shelby Harris made a couple of plays, had a big play in that overtime possession, but overall just not enough. The secondary I thought was okay. It's hard to say if the linebackers played well. I can't say they did with the way Josh Jacobs went off, but Jacobs was popping off 4 or 5 yards every game. I thought Josh McDaniels helped out Seattle several times. I thought with 14 seconds to go in the first half, he could have run another play. He didn't. The Raiders took the field goal, went up 24-20. There was a 4th and 1 when they were down 27-24 that they didn't go for. Even the Raiders' backup running back, who I don't even know his name off the top of my head. I mean, Amir Abdullah, but the other one was busting off big runs. They had a 4th and 1 down 27-24. They kicked that. I thought they should have gone for it. In overtime, they had the 4th and 2. When I'm in those situations, I'm either a go for it or punt it. I hate long field goals, unless it's at the end of the half or the end of the game to win the game. If that would have won the Raiders the game, that field goal, I would have been okay with kicking that, but that wouldn't even have won you the game. I thought they should have gone for that. 4th and 2 at the 38. They gave Seattle an extra 10 yards of field position there. So I thought Josh McDaniels played a little scared. I thought the Raiders had opportunity to do more. And then the 4th down Seattle stuffed was a 4th and inches where Derek Carr could have just went right ahead, I think, and gotten it. And I think Carr's a pretty good quarterback sneak guy, but they pitched it out to Jacobs, and Cody Barton made a real nice play to stop that one. In overtime, Seattle gets the ball at their own 46. You're looking at 18 yards, 19, to give Myers a chance. Realistically, you're probably looking at 20 to 25 yards. They run the first play to Lockett, and then I don't get the run to Walker. And Kenneth Walker, this is now 2 weeks in a row where he has been bad. There's not good, and there's and then there's bad. He has not been good. He was boomer bust against Arizona. He did play that closer role against Arizona and finished it off. He was good against the Chargers. The first Arizona game, he thought he was okay. And the Giants, he wasn't very good. And these are not strong run defenses he's going up against. So a little concerning. I think that Rashad Penny injury is a lot bigger deal than people are thinking. And I did advocate for Seattle going to get a running back. I don't know if there's one out there. They did put in a claim for Eno Benjamin. So they have been trying to add some depth there. But a really bad game for Kenneth Walker. And I think that fumble, when it was tied at 27, Seattle was driving. You forget about that one. I think that was on him, and that's not the first time that that's happened or something like that has happened with him. So very concerning, not good, not a good game for him. I shouldn't say concerning. I'm not concerned. Running backs can be boom or bust. It's not uncommon, but disappointing. And I thought the play call was a little weird too on the 2nd and 5. I get it. You try to maybe bust one thing and get them off guard, but you didn't. And then Max Crosby took Abe Lucas to school a little bit today. Learning experience for the rookies. They did not have their best games. Kobe Bryant struggled. Thought Woolen was fine. I'd have to watch the tape again. I don't know. He might have been bad, but he didn't look like Devontae Adams went off too much. Cross, I think, was okay. Walker struggled. You hope as the rookies they learn from this. That's what you hope. You hope this is a game that the rookies take, and, in the future, it's a game that they can help you win. It's going to happen. A young team is going to take their lumps sometimes, guys. The 2012 Seahawks, which were probably more expected to compete than this team, was already a year into that rebuild. Had some really, really tough losses with the LOB. It happens with young teams. You got to learn how to win these games sometimes. Unfortunately, maybe the Raiders just had a couple more veterans in this game that pulled them across. Devontae Adams had that catch across the sideline, was 34-27 against Michael Jackson. Not much you can do there. That was a great catch by Adams. Jackson probably got away with a PI on that play, honestly. there's moments like that where you just tip your cap, nothing you can do. I didn't see Trey Brown out there on defense. Maybe he was. I think you'll start to see him work in a little bit. I didn't think Jackson was all that great today in the last couple weeks. I think it's time to work Trey Brown in there and get him some defensive snaps. Um, like I said, I thought the calls, the Jacobs fumble, the DK one I can let go. I think that was close. Again, I'm like, why did they get like 10 minutes to look at that play? But I can kind of let that one go. The Josh Jacobs fumble was bad. I mean, if it was the Seahawks in that situation, I'd say the same thing. I don't expect Raider fans to apologize. You shouldn't. And please don't. Like, apologize. It's football, is what it is. Too bad. I wouldn't apologize if the Seahawks got the benefit of a call. I never do it. It's the game. I'll tell you if I think it was a bad call, but I won't apologize for it. So Raiders fans shouldn't apologize for that either. As far as the playoffs go, Seahawks are currently out of a playoff spot behind Washington now. Listen, I think the Seahawks can still get in. You've got a really bad, banged-up Rams team twice. Carolina's still a pretty poor team. I know they've won a little bit here. And I think the Jets game is winnable. I think the Niners game is winnable. I don't think Seattle should be favored, but I think it's a winnable game. So we'll see what ends up happening. Do you think Seattle can get to 9-10 wins and still get in? And listen, they've got a top 5 pick right now from Denver. You're gonna have the draft capital to get this defense back on track. Okay, so that's what you take away from this. This is not a franchise-changing loss. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to swallow, but you move on. And hopefully you can bounce back next week and get one against the Rams. It'll be the first time Seattle would have won in LA since 2017. If they can go down and do it next week, rebound, go to LA, get a win, and hopefully get this thing back rolling. And then you got 4 to 5 at home, and maybe you can hold serve at home and do a little something. So we'll see. I still think the team does make the playoffs. It would still be my call that they get in. I think the Giants are going to end up falling out, to be honest. Their schedule is really rough. They still got to play the Eagles twice, Washington, who's a good team, twice, Minnesota, and the Colts. I mean, they could go 1-5 in there. It wouldn't shock me. And I think Atlanta's kind of bowing out now. So I think it's going to be Washington, Seattle, New York. And I think the Giants have the toughest schedule. And Seattle has a tiebreak over the Giants, which is nice. I don't think the division, I think the Niners are going to win the West, but that's okay. It wasn't about that this year. So as videos are going 17 minutes, I'm going to stop it. Seattle loses 40-34. Tough loss. Hopefully some stuff that I said made you guys feel a little bit better. If it didn't, then we can cry together. That's what I'm here for. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.